If you've got an idea for a marketing SaaS app or web app and you're not a coder, then this video is for you, because in this Bubble tutorial video, I'm going to show you how you can build and clone some of the features that you'll find in applications such as Arefs. I think I butchered the pronunciations of that. SEMrush and Moz. We will be adding in some SEO data like domain authority into a Bubble.io app. What is Bubble.io? Well, Bubble.io is the best no-code app builder out there. For many years, it has reigned high in terms of web app design, and very recently, or imminently, over the summer of 2025, they will be releasing a native mobile app builder. And if you're new to the channel, my name is Matt. I've been building apps with Bubble since 2017. You can book a one-to-one call with me, and you can unlock all of our videos and include in using an AI assistant, a custom-trained GPT that we've built in order to accelerate your Bubble app journey. All of those details are down in the description. So let's take a look at how we can add in the ability to just have a simple form. We want to take a domain name and we want to get some SEO data about that domain. Well, to do that, we'll be using the Moz API and we'll be using Bubble. So if we go over into the design tab, let's set up the very basic bits of form data that we need form design to do this. To make this really quick, I'm going to be using fixed layout, but of course, if you want it to be responsive, you need to be using rows and columns, and we've got a number of videos covering how that works. But right now, let's just add in an input, because this is going to be our domain. So I'll put in HTTPS as a placeholder. Then we need a button, and I'll say fetch SEO, fetch domain data, and then we need somewhere to display our domain data. So I'm going to put this in there, and we'll come back to that, because next thing is to go over into the Moz API and to set up and get yourself an API key. Now, I will of course be deleting this before I publish this video, because we will then head over into the Moz documentation. If you want a link between the two, there's a helpful link for you there. And what we will do is, I've tried out a number of these, but we're just going to say fetch site metrics. So once you get to grips with API documentation like this and the Bubble API connector, then you've got thousands of different services you can integrate with. We've got so many demos on our channel, and some exclusive to our members, from web scraping, AI tools, of course, just anything you can imagine. Once you get your head around this, you can build it and add it into your app. So we are going to be making a call like this, and we need to take this and plug it into our Bubble app. So first of all, I'm going to copy the endpoint, and I'm going to notice that it is a post request. And so I'll go over to Bubble and I go into plugins. I go to the API connector. If you don't see it, then you just need to add it from the plugin library. It's just there. And then you can get an idea of all of the different demos. We've got calendars, we've got searches, we've got AI, we've got image modification, we've got weather, we've got web search, we've got rank, we've got like a Canva clone. Yeah, we've got loads. So I'm just going to add in Moz here, and I'll call this fetch domain data. I'm going to paste my endpoint in there, and I'm going to change it to post. I'm also going to set this to action, because I want this to be an action. A user clicks a button and then we request this data, and so it needs to be an action. Let's go back into the documentation, and I'm going to copy everything that is in the D section, D for data, but some people call it the body section. And I'm going to paste that into here. I'm then going to, we need to authenticate our call, because this is a paid service. I've just signed up for a limited number of requests, free plan, but you do have to provide your card details. So we need our API key. And how does the API key go in there? Often the key name is authenticate or authentication. In this case, they want you to use XMOZ token. There's another part of the header in the call. We don't need to add this in, because Bubble adds this in by default unless you specify an alternative content type. So we want to put this into private key and header. We don't want to add it into the shared headers. basically anything that goes into an API call in the API connector, you should consider that it is accessible to your users in your bubble app unless you explicitly state that it is private. So I'm going to put my private key, so my clipboard in there. And then we can initialize. And initialize is just testing, like has everything that I've plugged in so far work or will it work? So I'm going to initialize the call and I get an error. So I have an authentication error. Oh, and that's because I've not labeled it correctly. I gave the explanation. I didn't follow through with it myself. There we go. Let's try that. And well, that's really quick. So we get back all of this data. It can be a bit easier to see if we go down here. So we can see it, you just get tons of data, like how many pages. I believe that there we go, domain authority is down here. Great. So our API connection to the Moz SEO API is working. How do we link it in with our form? Well, we need to make part of this dynamic so that it can be filled in within a workflow. Notice that different parts of the API connector uses different symbols, square brackets up here. For the body, because we want to make this bit dynamic, it is triangle brackets. So I'm going to delete this and put in my triangle brackets, and I'll just put in URL. And it now adds it in as a field. It's not private. My users have access to this data because they provided the very URL that we're using. I'm also going to remove the speech marks, and that is, I'm not really sure if it's entirely relevant with URLs, but we are using JSON, sending a JSON object here, and you can notice that there are some key bits of punctuation for JSON, like colons and speech marks, and it's really important to differentiate between what is code and what is text. Especially this is it comes up a lot with using like the OpenAI API, because if your user puts speech marks into the message that they're sending into your chatbot, you don't want that to return a syntax error with a JSON syntax error. So we will make it JSON safe. Basically, we're going to add in the speech marks in the workflow. If I try to initialize it now, it's going to fail because this is effectively empty. So if I wanted to reinitialize it, I'd have to put the speech marks back in. And then I don't think you have to put HTTP. Let's just try if it will be a bit flexible. Here we go. And we get back all this data about the BBC. What's the BBC's domain authority? 95. Interesting. I'm going to click save. But I click save because that's just a training bubble that this is the structure that is coming back from the API. So now let's head back over to our page, and we want a way of displaying the results. Now, Bubble is an all-in-one platform. It's got a database. You can write data to the database. You could do that in response, but we just want to print it on the page in this instance. So I am, in actual fact, going to put this into a group, and that's because this group can become a temporary storage for my Moz response, fetch domain data. That's what I've labeled it. So I can say fetch domain data. Here we go. And then this is just like a bucket or like a place I can store a variable for my app. So I'm just going to adjust the height here so it's easier to see. Perfect. Because now it means that my text can fetch any of the fields that are sent across. These are all of the fields that we saw in the API connector. So I can say go to domain authority, and then let's print something else in there, like page, I don't know, pages to root. Cool. So let's add in the workflow. So the button is clicked. We then make our call to Moz, and I've searched for Moz, but it's going to be under plugins. And here are all of the calls that any plugins I've added, but also the plugins that I've sort of created myself in the Bubble API connector. So I'm searching for Moz, and this is exactly how I've labeled it in the API connector. If you've labeled it differently, you will see it as you've labeled it. I'm then going to put in the URL, and that's my field, my input HTTPS and its value. And then I mentioned moments ago, we need to make it JSON safe. So that is going to escape any characters in the text that could cause a JSON syntax error, and it's going to put those speech marks back in at the start and at the end. I'm then going to need a way of displaying the data that I get back. So I've got my group, and I'm going to display the results of step 1. And you could use a custom state. Custom states are another variable-like feature in Bubble. They'd be particularly useful if I wanted to store a range of different things. But it's really convenient that by initializing the call, I've effectively created like a pseudo data type so that I can just insert the object in. And then once I've got the object, anything within the group or even out of the group referring to this group here, if I just rename it, I'll call it bucket, so it's really clear what's going on. I can even refer to it outside, so I can say bucket site title. Yeah. So what have we got? We got that. I now think we can test this. So I'm going to click preview up here, and it takes me through to my page. It's just going to reload for me. And then like I did with the initializing the call, I don't actually have to put in HTTP. In fact, let's do something like mashable.com. So an application of this could be if you're building a web app, a SaaS app for marketers or people who are wanting to kind of understand their business and their competitors more, you can bring in their competitor data using the Moz API. And there we go. We get back our data. So there's our title. Is this the domain authority? Yeah. And it's not printed the pages to root domain. That's probably because I've been rather scrappy, and if you use rows and columns, it's just you don't get any of these headaches of basically elements respond to the size that they're needed unless you put in fixed pixel values. So let me just show you that that's going to work. I'm going to refresh it. Let's do Mashable again. Yeah, okay, and there's all our data. So if you've got any questions, please leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube. And if you want to really accelerate your Bubble app development journey, then do become a Planet No Code member, where you can get access to hundreds of Bubble tutorial videos, and you can even search them all with our AI assistant.